You guys, it has been a wild ride over the past year, hasn't it? This show literally exploded onto the scene and completely took over the indie animation world. We're talking millions upon millions of views, a fandom that's gone absolutely bonkers, in the best way, and bootleg merch popping up everywhere you look. If that doesn't scream, we've made it, I don't know what does. Seriously, this show, with its incredibly unique concept and the ridiculously talented and passionate team behind it, has become the new face of indie animation, no doubt about it. It's like every episode is a little gem you just want to watch over and over, picking up on new details, new quirks, and getting totally obsessed with Pomni, Jax, and the whole gang. That tells you just how high the demand is for plushies, figures, and whatever else they decide to throw our way, featuring Pomni, Jax, Kane, and the rest of the crew. It's a phenomenon, pure and simple. But, and this is the part that's got everyone holding their breath, will this amazing ride keep going forever? Like, are we looking at a sprawling, multi-season epic? Or is there a, gulp, finish line in sight? This is the question that's been buzzing around the fandom, and honestly, it's a tough one to think about because we are so invested in this bizarre, terrifying, and hilarious digital world. Can we hope for more of our favorite show after this first season wraps up? What's going to happen to our beloved abstracted messes in episode 9? You guys, I've been digging through everything we know, and I'm here to lay it all out for you. So let's get right to the heart of it. The big question, is the amazing digital circus getting a season 2? And the answer, based on what the creators themselves have said, might be a little disappointing for some, but bear with me, because it also makes a whole lot of sense when you think about it. We can get a ton of insight directly from the source. Gooseworks, the brilliant mind behind the series, over on her Tumblr. A fan, brave soul that they are, straight up asked Goose if there was any chance of a season 2, or if it was just planned as a limited series. Goose's response was pretty blunt, and maybe a little heartbreaking at first glance. She said, and I quote, "I don't really think there could be a season 2. For hardcore fans, those are 10 words you absolutely do not want to hear, right? But hold on, before you start panicking and abstracting yourselves, Gooseworks clarified things in a follow-up post, and her explanation actually sheds a lot of light on the situation and makes a lot of sense from an artistic perspective. She basically expanded on her initial comment, saying that Glitch, the studio, is incredibly supportive and accommodating of the artist's vision. She and Liam, from Murder Drones, are in a really fortunate position where they get to end their shows on their own terms, telling the stories they want to tell. The timing and the place where their shows end are 100% their decisions. She even used Murder Drones as an example, saying it wasn't canceled because of TADC, it ended because Liam felt he was finished with the story he wanted to tell. And the same goes for TADC. Gooseworks said she could probably stretch the story out, maybe even have 5 seasons of filler episodes if she wanted to. But, and this is the key part, she would much rather have each episode have some kind of meaningful character development and advance the story, instead of just wasting people's time with filler. She emphasized that Glitch lets them tell the stories they want to tell, and she thinks that's really cool. And honestly, she's absolutely right. As much as we love spending time with these characters, imagine if the show just started spinning its wheels, dragging things out with pointless side quests or repetitive gags just to fill time. That wouldn't be the digital circus we fell in love with, would it? Now, you might be thinking, but wait, didn't they announce the amazing digital circus on Netflix? And yes, you are totally right. It was announced that TADC episodes would appear on Netflix the same day they drop on YouTube. But does this deal give Netflix any creative control? Do they have the power to cancel the show, or maybe more importantly for those wishing for more, extend it even if the creators don't want to? Nope. According to the information out there, the show is still ending on the creators' own terms. The Netflix deal doesn't change the creative vision or the planned length of the story. In Netflix's own post about the announcement, we also found out that the show will continue all the way up to episode 9. And thanks to Gooseworks' earlier comments on Tumblr, that episode 9 is probably the final episode of the series. Honestly, hearing all of this, I'm actually okay with it. The amazing digital circus is heavily serialized. We've got ongoing mysteries, deep character lore, and a central narrative about Pomni trying to find her way out, or at least understand what the heck is going on. Stretching that out just for the sake of having more seasons would genuinely feel like a disservice to the whole thing. It could dilute the impact, make the pacing feel off, and maybe even risk the show becoming repetitive. Ending it when the story feels complete, when the creators feel they've told the tale they set out to tell, is a really brave and, in my opinion, a great decision. It means every episode we get from here on out is going to be packed with purpose, leading us towards a meaningful conclusion. So, based on everything we know, it seems highly likely that the amazing digital circus is not getting a season 2. Instead, we are heading towards the grand finale of season 1, with episode 9 being the likely conclusion to this incredible, bizarre adventure. But just because we might not be getting a season 2 doesn't mean the end of the road is a sad thing. It just means we get to look forward to a spectacular, purposeful finale. And knowing that episode 9 is probably the end, it makes us think about what exactly we can expect from that final episode of the amazing digital circus's first and likely only season. Pomni, our digital jester protagonist, has really become the heart of the circus, right? Since the pilot episode dropped, showing her putting on that weird headset and suddenly being thrust into this terrifyingly cheerful virtual world, her journey has been central. Even though new characters have taken the spotlight in various episodes, the primary focus and storyline storyline are still revolving around Pomni and her desperate search for an exit. We've seen her state of mind improving, little by little, with each episode. Remember Kane sometimes likes to reuse NPCs? And how Rotha seems so okay with everything now? By the time episode 9 drops, Pomni's mental state might end up looking a lot like the Rotha we know. Perhaps not fully adjusted, but certainly less on the brink than she was at the start. She might finally accept her reality, at least enough to function like the others. But there's always that nagging reminder, especially for Pomni, that mysterious door she saw in the pilot episode. It feels like that door is going to haunt her and us, right up until the very end of episode 9. Even if we don't see the door itself constantly, the idea of it, the desperate hope it represents, is central to Pomni's character. The pilot episode also gave us clues about how people end up in the digital circus, putting on a headset. But even more importantly, it hinted that there is a way out. In theory, each character could find their way back to their real lives. But for everyone except Pomni, that idea seems to have faded into the background, replaced by resignation or perhaps, in Kinger's case, outright preference for the digital void. Remember that mind-blowing moment from the pilot where Pomni's glitching hand suddenly stops as soon as Kane is mentioned as the only one who can reverse the abstraction process? That one scene sparked so many theories. People were suggesting that Pomni might actually be one of the administrators, maybe even the creator of the digital circus herself. While we haven't had that confirmed or debunked, just the idea that there's an exit and that Kane holds the key to reversing abstraction is thrilling. I am almost 100% sure that this concept of the exit and Kane's role in it will come into play in episode 9. And honestly, we might even see most of the characters leave the circus tent for good. That could be the perfect bittersweet end to their amazing, terrifying adventures that we've been so excited to follow. Imagine it: Pomni, Rotha, Jax, Zubul, and Gangle finally finding their way out, leaving the digital realm behind. It would be a powerful conclusion to their individual and collective stories within the circus. Speaking of characters, there's a strong suggestion that most, if not all, of the characters, except Pomni, were actually deceased before entering the digital circus, and their consciousnesses were transferred into this virtual space. Episode 4 is very personal, hinting at deeper secrets about their pasts. Gangle, for example, confirmed she was a shift manager in real life, and the terrifying truck scene in E4 is seen as a memory from her past, possibly depicting her death shortly after that encounter. The fact that the characters seem unbothered by their existence and lack of pain fits with the idea of them already being dead. How can you feel pain if you're already gone? Gangle, Jax, Rotha, and Zubul might have all worked together at a fast food restaurant. Spudsy's anyone. The dynamic between Gangle and Jax, with Gangle hating Jax and making his life miserable, is highlighted as potentially pushing Jax to a breaking point. Then from episode 2, where Jax was next to Gangle, supposed to be driving, to the truck that ended Gangle's life, leading to the conclusion that Jax might actually be responsible for Gangle's death, having been behind the wheel. Jax's possible despair in that moment could even hint at his own demise, perhaps crashing after hitting Gangle and suffering a fatal impact. There's also the intriguing relationship between Jax and Rotha, hinting at a potential romantic tension or relationship in the real world, especially considering Rotha's dependency issues. Dumb sauce. And Zubul is deeply intertwined with them too. The scene at the end of their shift where Zubul offers to drive Rotha home sees Rotha too messed up, and they encounter Jax in the parking lot. Zubul asks Jax to drive, but somehow Jax gets them into that infamous truck, leading to the tragic events. Rotha might have survived the crash initially but died from windshield shards, while Zubul's mismatched body parts in the circus suggest devastating injuries requiring them to be pieced back together, again fitting the afterlife theory. And Kinger was the last to die in the real world. His strange appearance and erratic behavior could be linked to his past, perhaps involving his wife Queenie's death and his obsession with rodeo, hinted at by the chalkboard in E4 and the knife in the head scene in E2. The theory is that during a rodeo ride, he lost control, and a bull gored his head with its horns. This could explain his appearance and his mental state, a mix of trauma and tragedy. Finally, let's touch on one of the biggest mysteries, CNA. For a year, fans have linked it to Cain and Abel, but let's look at a more grounded theory. It's pretty clear CNA refers to the creators of the digital circus. We know C stands for Cain, who the first teaser hinted was a human transformed into an NPC in this world. And just recently, the second name was revealed, Albert Spudsy. Yep, the guy who owns the Spudsy fast food chain is the A in CNA. This is something Gooseworks apparently hinted at in episode 4. The theory is that Cain is one creator, a human moved into the world, and Albert Spudsy is the second, the owner of the restaurant chain where the characters might have worked. And Pomni's connection, she could either be Spudsy's daughter or a person he experimented on, thrust into this death-based virtual space. This mystery, the identity and nature of the creators, feels like something that has to be addressed in the finale, tying everything together. So putting it all together, while the news that the amazing digital circus is likely not getting a season 2 might sting initially, it's for all the right reasons. The creators want to tell a focused, meaningful story without resorting to filler. And everything points to episode 9 being the epic conclusion where Pomni's journey reaches its climax, the exit is explored, characters might escape, except maybe Kinger, and the mystery of the creators, Cain and Albert Spudsy, and Pomni's unique connection could finally be revealed. What do you guys think about all of this? Are you ready to say goodbye to the digital circus after season 1, or are you holding on to hope for more? What are your biggest predictions for episode 9? Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories.